Welcome back to Kit Guru, guys. Today is the second in a line of sponsored and custom builds that I'm going to be doing over the next few months. Today we're going to be building AMD's fastest current generation gaming system, and with the help from Be Quiet, it's also going to be the quietest. So as you probably already realised, today's video is sponsored by Be Quiet. You can see we've got a few of their latest and greatest parts on here, so we're going to take a quick look at these first and then get into building that system very soon. So the case we're going to be using for this build is the Be Quiet Silent Base 802. It's built around the older 801 with a few revisions that just bring it up to date and make it more accessible to everybody. So the case is available in either this black colour, also available in white. You may have seen a while ago I did a build in the white version which turned out really nice. The case you can buy in the UK now. It's priced around £179.99. Pick it up from places like Overclockers UK. In terms of the differences between the 801 and the 802, it's not a huge difference, but they are significant. So as I said about bringing it up to date, the front panel is removable. So you can now remove this original solid front panel that you had on the 801. See, there's some sound dampening material on there, and there's also a dust filter behind that. And you can replace that solid panel with this new high airflow perforated mesh front panel as well, which just slots in place of the solid panel. So for me, that's a great addition to this case. It's going to give you more airflow, potentially better cooling, maybe sacrificing noise slightly because of the removal of the solid front panel. You've also got now a removable top panel as well, so this comes off in two sections. Again, the solid panel has some sound dampening material on, and then there's a smaller back section that has a small vent. So now that can be replaced with a perforated metal mesh filter. Obviously the top is extremely open, so great again for airflow in the front out of the top. So, and that's just a magnetic filter that sits on the top in case you want to use that as an intake. So there's a large tempered glass side panel on this side of the case. You can, if you like, get it with two solid panels. So if you don't want to see inside the case, you can have steel panels on both sides. These panels remove very easily. There's just a button at the back. Press that in and it opens and lifts out, and you can see there's a mild tint on that tempered glass panel. The case does come with some fans, so there are two Be Quiet Pure Wings 2 140mm fans in the front of the case, and then one in the rear of the case as well. The design of the case as well is fully modular, so you've got a couple of screws to take out of the top here, and then you can just slide out the top radiator bracket, so that makes it a little bit easier for installing a radiator up in the top of the case. All the panels on the top of this power supply shroud can be removed as well. They just pop out, give you a larger vented section above the power supply, and also this front one pops out, and then that allows you to fit a larger radiator down the front as well. The whole motherboard tray can be flipped round, so take a bunch of screws out, flip the tray round and flip the power supply shroud round, and then you can run the case in an inverted layout. I'm not going to be using it in an inverted layout, I'm going to be using it in the default layout. And then to remove the other right hand side panel, again it's just press the button in the back, lift it out, and you can see that's a solid panel with some thick noise insulation on there. And then when you take the right hand side panel off, you can remove these blanks here. So they just clip out, and then you can slide in one of these 3.5-inch drive bays from the back, and then they just screw in place there. The case only comes with one of these drive bays, but you can buy those separately, and then you can fit up to 5 3.5-inch drive bays using those caddies. Obviously this is quite a large ATX tower case, so in terms of graphics card installation and CPU cool heights, there's not going to be really any restriction with current generation graphics cards and CPU coolers. And then if you're talking liquid cooling, you can fit up to 420mm radiators inside the case, so it's got really healthy options for hardware and cooling support. Case flipped around, you can see there's more 3.5-inch storage down there. You can fit two 3.5-inch drives in there. Full cover power supply shroud, lots of space in there again for the power supply and cable management. You've also got a couple more 2.5-inch drive bays, actually 3 more in here, and these can be easily removed with thumb screws. Install your drive to those and then just screw them back in place. And again, the double drive bay at the top here, just held in place with a single thumb screw. So that's a quick look at the Silent Base 802. As I said, you can buy this now from Overclockers UK, priced at £179.99. It's available in black and white and available with or without tempered glass side panels. Be Quiet has also provided us with the CPU cooler for the system. So this is the Silent Loop 2. This is available in a 120, 240, 280 and 360mm version. The 360 is the one we'll be using with 320mm fans. You can pick up the 360mm version for £129.95. Again, this is available at Overclockers UK. So the Silent Loop 2 is equipped with a 3-chamber pump design and 6-pole motor, and Be Quiet say that'll give you high performance and a whisper quiet operation. It also comes equipped with 3 Be Quiet Silent Wings 3 fans, 120mm fans on the 120, 240 and 360, and obviously 140mm fans on the 280mm version. It features a zone of addressable RGB lighting around the CPU block, and also you can see on the top of here is a very nice premium looking brushed aluminium finish. And also one other feature of the Silent Loop 2 that you don't tend to see on a lot or possibly any other all-in-one CPU coolers is a fill port here. Be Quiet also provides a small bottle of coolant as well, so you can refill this as and when. I think they recommend refilling it probably every 2 years, or at least checking it every 2 years, and it's quite simple to refill. You just have to stand it up on its end there, remove the cap, and then just fill up with the fluid using the nozzle end. So that should help with the longevity of the device as well. So that's a neat feature that we don't tend to see that often in all-in-one CPU coolers. So I mentioned that the Silent Loop 2 comes with the Silent Wings 3 fans. I'm not going to be using those fans on it today because I want to try out the new Light Wings fans. I've not had a chance to look at these before, so I'm going to be interested to see how they look on the cooler, and I've got enough fans to use in the whole system as well. So here are the Light Wings fans. They look very similar to the Silent Wings fans. The blade design is very similar. That is optimized for low noise and high airflow, and you can see I have an outer ring that will be illuminated with RGB lighting. There's also some smaller areas on the back here. These also are illuminated with RGB lighting as well, and these are the 4-pin PWM versions and also the high speed as well, so these run up to 2,500 RPM. Again, these are available in 120 and 140mm size. The 3-pack, which is this one that comes with the addressable RGB control as well, that is priced at £59.99 for the 3-pack from OC UK. You can get them in singles as well. That's the single pack, and that doesn't come with an addressable RGB controller, and the single packs are £24.95. And then last but definitely not least is the power supply. Because we're going to be building a very high spec AMD gaming system, we want a reliable and powerful power supply. So again, Be Quiet has come up trumps and sent us one of the Dark Power Pro 12 power supplies. This is available in a 1200 watt version, which is the one I'm going to be using. You can pick this up again at OC UK for £379.99. It's also available in a 1500 watt version, and that's priced around £430. As I said, this is the 1200 watt version. It's 80 plus titanium efficiency rated. It also has a fully digital control, which means that it results in higher efficiency, better regulation and lower ripple noise. It's also equipped with a frameless Silent Wings 3 fan inside or behind this mesh panel, and it's got a fully aluminium case as well, so it's a really smart and sleek looking brushed aluminium finish. The power supply also comes with individually sleeved modular cables, and it also comes included with a overclocking key, which allows users to switch between the standard 12 volt rails or one massive 12 volt rail. And then the parts to make up the rest of the system. As I said, this is going to be AMD's most powerful gaming system. So motherboard is the X570 Aorus Elite from Gigabyte, so decent X570 motherboard there. CPU, we've gone for the AMD Ryzen 7 5800X3D, so some might say this is the most powerful gaming CPU on the market. Memory is the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro SL, so this is a 32GB 4x8GB modules, 3600 megahertz. For storage, just going with a 1TB drive, so this is the PNY XLR8 Gaming CS30 3040. This is a PCIe Gen 4 M.2 SSD drive. And then for the graphics card, you may have seen this from a recent video of mine. I did a custom build for Sapphire with this. We're going to be using this card again because I love this card, don't get me wrong, but maybe the one thing I wasn't overly amazed with is the fans. I mean, they work perfectly well. The card runs cool and fast with these fans, but I'd like to be able to customize the fans so that they match perfectly with the other fans in the system. So I'm going to be removing these fans and replacing with some of the Lightwings fans. I'll see how that goes on later because these have proprietary connections here, so I think what I'm going to have to do is connect up the Lightwings fans to the motherboard and use a piece of software that will allow me to control the speed of those fans related to the GPU temperature. So we'll see how that goes in a bit, and we might do a quick investigation as well to see which fans work better, because I've no idea whether the Be Quiet fans will give us better performance in terms of thermals. I think they will probably give us better noise levels, but we'll see how that goes as well. So that's basically everything for the build. So let's get on with it. So there we have the final build, all finished, complete, no major dramas while building it, which is always nice. I'm a massive fan of how this one's turned out. It's really up my street. This dark, stealthy interior and the all black exterior and that hint of orange RGB lighting just setting off the Be Quiet theme. I wish I could keep this system for myself, but I can't. Let us know in the comment section what you think of it. Would you build the system in the same way using these parts? Is there anything you would have done differently? Is it the kind of system that you would like to build yourself? Please let me know. As I said, it was a pretty straightforward build. Took about 3 hours in total to build with all the cable management and everything, which is pretty typical for this kind of build. In terms of how I laid the system out, so the Silent Loop 2 is installed up at the top on the pull-out bracket for the radiator, so that's cooling the CPU. And then the radiator for the graphics card, that's installed at the front. I had to remove one of those panels off the power supply shroud, which then allowed me to drop the radiator down past the shroud with the tubing at the bottom as well. So that worked out well, and it spaced out nicely between the top of the case and the bottom and the top radiator. That did mean that I had to install the fans kind of on the outside of the front panel, but there's a good gap between the outer front panel and the inner front panel in this case, so not going to restrict airflow in any way. So that's worked out well. As I mentioned, cable management in this case, it's pretty good. There's plenty of space around this right hand side, so that's not a problem. I did have a lot of cables to manage with all the RGB cables for the Lightwings fans, but it wasn't too difficult. As I said, plenty of space in there, and I didn't end up using the ARGB controllers that come with the fans. Instead, I just daisy chained them all together and then connected them to the motherboard. So all the RGB lighting is configured either through the motherboard software for the fans and the motherboard RGB, and then I just use the Sapphire Trick software to set the lighting on the graphics card to the same orange tone. So the RGB lighting's worked out well. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky if you're using various different bits of software, but that's all gone okay. Otherwise, yeah, really straightforward, and for me, it's a really great looking build. Also, as I mentioned earlier, and as you probably saw from the time-lapse build, I swapped out the stock fans on the Sapphire radiator for the Lightwings fans because I wanted to have them all, you know, looking the same as the other fans in the system and be able to configure the RGB lighting, etc. So I also said that I was going to possibly do a little bit of testing as well to see if the performance was improved by fitting the Lightwing fans and if the noise levels were improved as well. So before I actually built the system, I put it all on the test bench and ran the 3D Mark TimeSpy Extreme stress tests with the fans in various different configurations to see what improvement was gained, if any. So as you can see, it's pretty closely matched in terms of the thermal performance between the stock Sapphire fans and the Be Quiet fans. There's just 1 degree's difference with the fans running at their maximum 2,400 RPM. With the fans set at 1,300 RPM, again, the thermal performance is pretty evenly matched, just a couple of degrees difference between the stock Sapphire fans and the Be Quiet Lightwings. But it's when we come to the noise levels where the Lightwings show their advantage. While the fans are running at 1,300 RPM, the Lightwings are just emitting 39 decibels, which is extremely quiet, just a couple of decibels above the ambient noise floor of the room. Running at the same 1,300 RPM, the stock fans are hitting 45 decibels, which is a noticeable gain in noise levels. And then with the fans running at their maximum RPM, you can see there's a huge gap between the noise levels of the Lightwings and the stock Sapphire fans. The Lightwings are almost at the same level of noise outputted by the stock fans while they're at 1,300 RPM. So for me, I think it was a good decision swapping out the stock Sapphire fans for those Be Quiet Lightwings fans. It does give you a noticeable reduction in noise levels while the system is under load. You do have to slightly compromise on thermal performance, but just 1 or 2 degrees is neither here nor there, so I think it's a good improvement. And I also prefer how those Be Quiet Lightwings fans look compared to the stock Sapphire fans. The other thing worth mentioning as well is when you have the stock fans installed, you can't adjust the speed of the fans separately to the speed of the fan actually on the card on the heatsink. Installing those Be Quiet Lightwings fans meant I had to use a piece of software called Argus Monitor, which allows you to connect the fans to the motherboard but still control the speed of them relating to the GPU temperature. And that also allowed me to then separately regulate the speed of the fan on the heatsink, which is a really good thing with this card because that fan can get quite loud. It is much louder than the fans on the radiator. So definitely a mod I think worth doing to this graphics card, fitting some different fans and having them controlled separately to that fan on the graphics card. So that's it for the Be Quiet build. I love how it's turned out. I think it looks great. If you have enjoyed watching this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel hit the like button, and if you want to help support Kit Guru, if you like what we do, head over to our store and pick up some merch, or you can even subscribe to our Patreon. And as always, if you want to catch up on all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to the website.